It's always a problem when the phone rings, so we're starting again at the lettuce, and Jack and Mary are weeding, and Mary was just looking at how our green lettuce is really going to seed. So we're going to collect that seed as it matures, and the first plants of the year last fall I should say of last year, have started to bolt, and we're getting a little bit of flowering starting on the ones that we put in earlier this year. But this is something that, again, if the bunnies don't eat it and the deer don't eat it, we can go ahead and eat it. And as the season goes on, lettuce tends to get a little bit bitter. So one of the things that you can do to sort of compensate and not waste, and a lot of people say, oh, my lettuce is bolting, or I have more than I know what to do with. You can eat lettuce wilted. You put it in a frying pan with a little bit of olive oil or butter, and you throw it in, and you just allow it to wilt down a little bit, and salt and pepper, and it's extremely flavorful as a cooked green, and most people don't think of it as wilted greens, and it's very nice that way. Delicious. And we have some radishes that were seeded earlier, and they are going to flower. They make pretty little flowers, and our cabbage is doing mediocre. One of them is actually forming a head, which is very exciting when they start to do that, because if we go a little bit longer into the season, we're on April 22nd. By the time we hit May 15th, we'll want to probably pull these out of the ground, and you can see that this is a nice tight little head forming on that cabbage. And our echinacea is ready to bloom. It's ready to pop. And we have seed coming in our mystery brassica. We thought these were collards that seeded themselves from last year, and maybe, but they're seeding themselves again this year. And Helene is about to do string so that the peas that we had planted here, which have sprouted beautifully and are starting to grow quite vigorously, have something to hold on to as they go up the cages. And the bed behind us, it has the latter group of radishes. So radishes can be successionally planted during the cool season. You can get a number of crops of radishes out, and you can see Helene was going to label these because some of them have done what we're calling bolting, and that's what you call it when something doesn't quite finish its, well, I guess it is finishing its life cycle, but it's something that means that you really aren't going to eat it too much more. You're going to go ahead and let it get its flowers and go to seed, and the mustard has done that, and some of the even young radishes are doing that. One of the most important things, though, to look at with the radishes is how we thinned them. So we put radishes out in a long four different rows, and we seeded them, and then we came back through a couple weeks later and we thinned them. And radishes can be thinned so that they are about an inch or two apart, just enough room for a nice little bulb to grow underground. And maybe if we get a little bit of rain and things go well over the next 2 weeks, we'll be able to pull some nice round radishes out of here. When we look across the way, this is exciting. Our wildflower bed is just doing tremendously. It is growing like gangbusters, and we were looking at the box trying to identify all the different flowers that are coming, and some of us are a little better at this kind of thing than others. I happen to be a real failure at it, so I have to wait and see the flower and say, oh, that's what that is. So we know that we've got a variety of pollinators happening here, and Barb was thinking she might take the box and start looking up the pictures online to see what's what. I think I can identify that this is a Sweet William, and we were looking at some of the fuzzier foliage and we're saying, well, heck, that might just be a plantain the way it's growing. But then we look at this one and we say that that's probably a daisy, and some of these could be the little fuzzier ones in the Rudbeckia family because they seem to have that leaf form and they can be a little bit fuzzier. So we're going to have fun identifying these as they grow. And something that's done, yes?
Of note,
yes,
we were able to collect enough seeds to add to a few extra to give every student in the school a package this week for them to plant this weekend.
Of wildflower seeds?
Yes.
The ones that we saved last fall. How terrific. So this little tiny bed has generated enough wildflower seeds to give 200 people wildflower seeds?
We just had to add a few
Extras?
the mix.
Okay, that's terrific.
So if we start earlier, we may get a few more this year.
We have more plants. More things have flowered this year.
Plus, we're going to plant them on the outside. too.
Yes, we're probably going to do some on the outside there, and we have some
end,
happening on this end, and we have some shade that we can put there, but they'll take about a season to establish. So speaking of establishing, we have some incredibly successful peas here, and the herb garden looks really good too. So up the fence, these are the snap peas. And we're starting to just get the very first flowers to come, which means that for the next 30 days or so, we should start to see peas. So what happens is the pea plant grows, and you can see that these are about 2.5 feet tall now, and then they flower, and post-flower comes a seed pod, which is what the pea is, and that's what we eat. And in addition to that, we also asked Barb to plant our onions in here. And so we have some onions that are coming. They'll take a little bit longer, and we're probably not going to get much of a bulb on them because it'll get warm, but we'll have some nice green onions to eat. We have our garlic here, and these allium will also put some nice flower heads on. The chives are also in the allium family. So we have the green onions, and we have the garlic, and we have the chives. And we were not particularly successful getting leeks established here, but that is also in this family of plants that put this beautiful flower out. Very good for pollinators, and this is an edible flower. Sometimes people will bread them and fry them, and they can be used as a garnish, and they're going to taste quite a bit like an onion. We have our little violets that are starting to see a little bit of bloom on them. It looks like at this time of day they've closed up. We're a little later in the afternoon, but our wild violets are blooming, and the leftover daffodil foliage, and we have some tremendous, this is the peppermint. There's a little chocolate mint down the other end, and we did try just a few beets to see how we would do here, and you can see that this one is actually starting to form at the base a little beet. And that's what they do, is they'll push up when they're getting bigger, and they'll push right up through the soil, and you'll see this nice rounded top on them. And then there are a couple that didn't do so well. But down here we have another few that have good foliage on them. And we have sage that's going into flower. So here we are with another variety of peas. We did 2 different varieties, and one was a little bit earlier, and one was early Alaska, and one was green arrow. And so we're seeing a little bit of a difference in their establishment and their growth. But we're at a wonderful time of year to feed the pollinators, and all of our herbs are really coming in and doing that. This is feverfew, and I wish you could smell from the video, because it has a very unique smell, and these will be really pretty chamomile looking like flowers, little yellow eyes with white petals, and they'll be lasting for a very long time. That's one of the things I like a lot about feverfew, is the flowers just keep coming, and they hold for many, many days. You can get a flower that'll stay on for a week on and not fade. And the comfrey is also blooming. Hi, Mark.
Hey.
And we have more chives blooming, and the rosemary bloomed earlier. I think it was blooming in the cooler season. It was a bit of a blue color. And Barb and Laura are weeding away in some garlic down there. So the potatoes are weird. They didn't grow, but they did grow in a couple of locations. And now they're starting to grow at our farm. And they were really lagging behind. So I'm expecting that as we get some more rain and some more warm temperatures, some of these potatoes will start to show themselves again here too. We have 4 out of, 12 plants. So that's a sad potato demonstration, and I've not had this happen before. And the only thing I can think of is that maybe we just didn't get enough water or enough warmth yet. So here are another group of brassica that have gone to flower. We had bok choy, and we had a mystery